Hello everyone, and welcome to lesson 13.2B. I've entitled this video, The Lone Star State. This video is going to cover pages 355 to 357. Texas. In 1821, Mexico won independence from Spain. Mexico controlled the land that is now Texas. At the time, the non-Native American population of Texas was about 3,000. Most of these people were Tejanos, or Mexicans who claimed Texas as their home. Wishing to increase settlement, Mexico offered vast tracts of land to people who would agree to bring families to settle there as citizens of Mexico. Stephen F. Austin brought 300 American families to settle in Texas. Austin's success made him a leader among the American settlers. Question number 1. What happened in Mexico in 1821? They won their independence from Spain. Number 2. What country controlled the land known as Texas at that time in history? Mexico. Question 3. Who were the Tejanos? The Tejanos were Mexicans who lived in Texas at that time. Question 4. How did Mexico try to encourage people to settle in Texas? They offered them large pieces of land if they agreed to bring families there to settle there to grow the prosperity. At first, Mexico encouraged Americans to settle in Texas. Before long, Americans greatly outnumbered Tejanos. Tensions with Mexico developed when Americans refused to follow Mexico's rules. These included learning Spanish and becoming Catholic. Many Americans also held enslaved African Americans, even though Mexico threatened to ban slavery. In 1830, Mexico issued a decree or official order closing its borders to further immigration. American settlers, led by Austin and Sam Houston, pictured here, tried to make peace with Mexican leaders. These efforts failed. Texans, including Americans and Tejanos, began planning to break away from Mexico. Question number, let's go to number 5. Oh, did I skip 5? I think I might have skipped 5. I sure did. Let's go back and do number 5. How did Stephen F. Austin influence Texas history? Well, he moved 300 American families there, so he was sort of their de facto leader. There's question 5. And now we're ready for question 6 on this slide. Why did American tensions begin to grow in Mexico over Americans coming to Texas? Well, Americans were refusing to follow the rules, and those 3 basic rules were learn Spanish, become a Catholic, and don't have slavery. And many Americans were breaking all 3 of those rules. Question number 7. What decree did Mexico issue to try to solve their concerns? They said, we're going to close the borders. We're not going to allow any further immigration into our country. In 1835, the conflict grew violent. Mexican General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna took an army into Texas to punish the rebels. In December of that year, the Texans captured the city of San Antonio from a larger Mexican force. Santa Anna was enraged. His army reached San Antonio in late February of 1836. There it found a small Texan force barricaded or blocked off inside a mission building called the Alamo. Question number 8. Who was the Mexican dictator who tried to put an end to the Texas rebellion? That would be Mexican General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. Question 9. What is the name of the famous mission that the small Texas force was located at that time? It's called the Alamo. The Alamo. The Texans had only about 180 soldiers to take on Santa Anna's army of several thousand. The Texans did have brave leaders, however, including folk hero Davy Crockett, known for his hat, Commander William B. Travis, and a tough Texan named Jim Bowie or Bowie, who is famous for his Bowie or Bowie knife. 2 different ways you can say that. And there's that knife that he's famous for. These were some of the famous people there, which answers question number 11, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's do question 10 first. Approximately how many Texans were in the Alamo to take on the thousands in Santa Anna's army? Only about 180 soldiers. Question 11. Who were some of the famous defenders of the Alamo? Once again, that would be Davy Crockett of the Davy Crockett hat, William B. Travis, who was the commander there, and Jim Bowie or Bowie of the famous Bowie or Bowie knife. For 13 long days, through several attacks, the defenders of the Alamo kept Santa Anna's army at bay with rifle fire. On March 6, 1836, Mexican cannon fire smashed the Alamo's walls. Question 12. How long did the Alamo defenders keep away the Mexican army until the cannons finally smashed through the walls? 13 long days. The Mexican army was too large to hold back. They entered the fortress, killing all the defenders, including Travis, Crockett, Bowie, and a number of Tejanos. Only a few women and children and some servants survived to tell of the battle. And question 13, what happened to almost everyone inside the Alamo? They were killed. And here we see a larger picture. Feel free to pause the video at this time if you want to take a look at this and see how this painting has this imagery. That's a pretty cool picture of the Alamo. The Alamo defenders had been defeated, but they had bought the Texans time to gather troops and supplies. They had also provided the Texans with a rallying cry, "Remember the Alamo." Question number 14. After the Battle of the Alamo, what became a rallying cry for the Texans? The cry was, "Remember the Alamo." Texas declares its independence. During the siege at the Alamo, Texan leaders met at the town of Washington on the Brazos. Among them were a number of Tejanos who were also unhappy with Mexican rule. On March 2, 1836, 4 days before the fall of the Alamo, they declared independence from Mexico. They then established the Republic of Texas. Texan leaders set up a temporary government. This government named Sam Houston commander-in-chief of the Texan forces. Houston gathered an army of about 900 at San Jacinto, near the site of present-day Houston. Santa Anna camped nearby with an army of more than 1,300. On April 21st, the Texans launched a surprise attack, shouting, "Remember the Alamo!" They killed more than 600 soldiers and captured about 700 more, including Santa Anna. On May 14, 1836, Santa Anna signed a treaty that recognized the independence of Mexico, and you can see that displayed here, the Battle of San Jacinto and that signing. Question number 15. What happened on March 2nd, 1836? Texas declared itself independent from Mexico, and they called themselves the Republic of Texas. Question 17. What happened? Question 16. Who was named the commander-in-chief of the Texan forces? That would be Sam Houston. Question 17. What happened at the Battle of San Jacinto? The Texans launched a surprise attack, and they were able to defeat Santa Anna, which leads us to question 18. What did Santa Anna sign on May 14, 1836? He signed a treaty that said Texas was indeed independent. The Lone Star Republic. In September 1836, Texans elected Sam Houston as their president. Mirabeau Lamar, who had fought at the Battle of San Jacinto, served as vice president, and they are pictured there at the bottom. Houston sent a delegation to Washington, D.C. to ask the United States to annex or take control of Texas. Question number 19. Who was named the President of the Republic of Texas in September of 1836? Sam Houston. Question 20. What did Texas ask the United States to do at that time? To annex or take control of Texas and make them part of our country. Andrew Jackson, however, refused the request. The addition of another slave state would upset the balance of slave and free states in Congress. For the moment, Texas would remain an independent country. Question number 21. Why did President Jackson refuse to annex Texas at that time? Well, once again, he was another president who was afraid to upset the balance of free states and slave states. So for the moment, Texas was told, not now. Texas becomes a state. Many Texans wanted to join the United States. Southerners favored Texas annexation, but Northerners opposed admitting another slave state to the Union. President Martin Van Buren did not want to inflame the slavery issue or risk war with Mexico. He put off the question of annexing Texas. John Tyler, who became president in 1841, supported Texas annexation. The Senate remained divided over the slavery issue and failed to ratify the annexation treaty. The situation changed with the 1844 presidential campaign. Manifest destiny was a popular idea at the time. The South wanted Texas. The North favored gaining all of Oregon. Candidate James K. Polk supported both actions. After Polk won, Congress passed a resolution to annex Texas. In 1845, Texas joined the Union. Question 22. Which group of Americans wanted to add Texas and which group of Americans were against it? Well, Southerners were for it because that would add another slave state, and Northerners were against it because it would add another slave state and upset the balance of power. And finally, question 23. How did the Oregon Country and Manifest Destiny affect the addition of Texas into the United States? Well, when candidate James K. Polk became president in 1844, running on Manifest Destiny, he was able to add Oregon to the discussion to show, look, North, we could add Oregon as a free state and Texas as a slave state and keep the balance of power fine. So that allowed Texas to join our country in 1845. Well, thank you for watching. Before we go, I've got a meme, or not a meme, but a cartoon from the far side. This is an Alamo-themed one. This says, shirts, mugs, mementos. I kicked Santa Anna's butt at the Alamo. If you understand the laws of supply and demand, you will understand why this is funny. Look at the pricing. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.